Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling 5 years in a war.
Ooh, that's a great one.
It is. It's one that kind of hits you right in the feels. You know, really makes you think.
Yeah. And it's so timely, too, with everything going on in the world right now.
Exactly. So much resonance. And it really gets you thinking about like what home even means.
Right. Like, where do you belong after you lost everything?
Yeah, and how do you even start to rebuild a life after going through something like that?
Well, the story follows these two characters, Anna and Leo. They're refugees who fled a war 5 years ago.
Right. And they've managed to build a new life for themselves in a new country. They even become citizens.
But you can tell right away that something's off. Like, they're both still carrying so much baggage.
Yeah, Leo's all about just pushing forward, burying the past, and trying to adapt to this new reality. But Anna,
Anna can't seem to escape the memories. She's haunted by them.
it's like they're dealing with the trauma in completely different ways.
And that contrast is so interesting, right? You have Leo, who's almost repressing everything, trying to outrun the pain.
But can you really ever outrun your past?
Exactly. And then you have Anna, she's grappling with it head on, unable to just shut it out.
It makes you wonder which approach is more sustainable in the long run.
Yeah, like, is it healthier to confront the trauma or to try to move on?
And just when you think they've reached some kind of equilibrium, the story throws a major curveball their way.
Oh, yeah. Ilya enters the picture.
Ilya.
He's a childhood friend of Anna's, someone who stayed behind in their war-torn homeland.
And he contacts her with news that the war is finally ending.
Which totally throws Anna for a loop.
It reawakens this longing for home, for a place she thought she'd left behind.
It's like this primal pull that she can't resist.
And suddenly she's questioning everything. The life she's built with Leo, the choices she's made.
She's forced to confront what home really means to her. Is it the life she's created, or is it something tied to her past?
And it's so interesting how differently Leo and Anna react to the idea of returning.
For Leo, going back is like reopening old wounds a step backward. He's terrified of it.
But for Anna, it's like a chance to confront her demons, to maybe heal a part of herself that was shattered by the war.
I actually think it's a little more complicated than that, though.
Oh, how so?
I'm not sure I entirely agree with the idea that Leo's seeing it as simply a step backward, you know? I mean,
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
recognizing their individual journeys is important, but couldn't Leo's resistance to going back be seen as avoidance? Maybe even fear?
That's a really good point. You're right. It's not just that he disagrees with Anna. There's a deeper emotional block there.
He can't even contemplate facing the place where their trauma began.
And that adds another layer to their communication breakdown, right? They love each other, but they're speaking totally different languages when it comes to processing their pain.
Exactly. They just can't seem to bridge that gap to truly understand each other's perspective.
And that ultimately leads to the story's heartbreaking turning point. Anna decides she needs to return to her homeland, even though Leo can't bring himself to follow.
It's such a powerful moment.
Because on one level, it's Anna choosing her own path to healing. She realizes that staying would mean denying a fundamental part of herself.
Right. And it also shows the limits of love in the face of trauma. Sometimes even the deepest connection can't overcome those individual needs and coping mechanisms.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is. There's just so much depth to this story.
Yeah, it really gets under your skin and makes you think about love-loss resilience and what it means to truly find home after going through something so devastating.
5 years in a war, it's definitely one that stays with you long after you finish reading it.
Yeah, it really does make you think about the invisible wounds that war inflicts, not just on individuals, but on relationships too.
Right, and that's where the whole theme of home becomes so central. You know, it's more than just a physical place in this story.
It's like this idea of belonging, of identity.
Exactly. And for Anna and Leo, their definitions of home are completely at odds.
Yeah, because their definitions are so tied to their individual traumas, right?
Right.
Like for Leo, home is about the stability and safety he's found with Anna. It's this future they built together, far away from the conflict. But for Anna,
There's this pull toward the past, this place that holds so much pain, but also this sense of rootedness that she just can't shake.
and the story doesn't tell you which definition is right or wrong. It lets both perspectives exist, and it really highlights that tension between holding on to the past and embracing the future.
Have you ever experienced something like that? Like a time when you had to make a difficult choice, maybe leaving something or someone behind in pursuit of something new? Did it change how you thought about home?
Wow, that's a really powerful question. It makes you realize how personal and complex that concept really is. And in the story, that conflict between Leo and Anna's ideas of home, it ultimately leads to their separation.
And it's not just physical distance either.
No, it's like they're moving in different emotional directions, seeking different forms of healing.
And that's where the story gets really heartbreaking because it shows us that sometimes even love isn't enough to bridge that divide. That divide created by trauma and their different ways of
It's
coping.
not about one person being right and the other wrong.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that their journeys have diverged, and sometimes the most loving act is to just let go.
There's this one scene that really captures that. It's when Anna's hacking her bags, and Leo walks in knowing he's leaving. And he doesn't beg her to stay. He doesn't try to change her mind. He just says, I love you, but I can't go back.
Oh man, that line just gets me right in the gut. It's so powerful because it shows how deeply they love each other and how much they understand each other.
But at the same time, it acknowledges this huge chasm that's opened up between them.
They recognize that their paths have diverged, and forcing them to come back together would just cause more pain.
And it's this reminder that sometimes letting go can be an act of love. Even if it's the hardest thing you'll ever have to do.
It's true, and the story doesn't give you easy answers or a happy ending. It just leaves you with this lingering sadness, but also a profound understanding of how complicated love and loss and resilience really are.
Absolutely. It lets you sit with the ambiguity, to think about all the difficult questions the story raises, without offering any single solutions.
And that's what makes it so impactful. It stays with you long after you finish reading it, and it makes you reflect on your own experiences and beliefs.
Definitely. But let's shift gears for a second and talk about some of the specific details that really stood out to me. There's this one scene where Anna's on the balcony, staring out at the city skyline.
Uh-huh.
It's this unfamiliar city. And Leo comes up behind her, and even though they don't say anything out loud, there's this understanding that they're about to go their separate ways. The tension in that moment is palpable.
Oh, it totally is. The author does an amazing job of conveying those unspoken emotions. You can just feel Anna's yearning for something more. Her need to return to that place that holds so much pain, but also a sense of belonging. And you can feel Leo's struggle too.
His love for her battling against his own inability to face the past.
It's heartbreaking.
And then there's the final scene at the airport where Leo whispers, "Promise me you'll be happy." It's such a simple request, but it carries so much weight.
Oh, I know. You can hear the heartbreak in his voice, the fear of losing her, but also this selfless desire for her to find peace, even if it means letting her go.
It really makes you think about what true love is all about. Is it about possession or about letting go?
That's the question, isn't it?
But 5 years in a war isn't just a love story. It's a story about survival and resilience and the search for meaning in a world that's been shattered by conflict.
And that's why it's so relatable, even for people who haven't experienced war firsthand. It speaks to those universal human experiences of loss and displacement and the longing for a place to call home.
It really makes you think about your own journey, your own definition of home.
Yeah, like what does home mean to you? Is it a physical place, a feeling, a connection to certain people or memories?
Yeah, it's a big question, isn't it? What does home really mean?
It is, and this story, it really digs into all those different layers, Like, for Leo, home becomes this sense of stability that he's built with Anna, the safety of their new life together. It's about moving forward, creating a future that's free from the shadows of war.
But for Anna, it's more than that. It's like home is intertwined with her past, with this feeling of belonging that goes beyond just a physical location.
Right. It's about reconciling with all those memories, the good and the bad, all the things that made her who she is.
And that's where the real conflict comes in. Not just between her and Leo, but within Anna herself.
Absolutely. She's torn between these two powerful forces, the love and stability she has with Leo, and this almost primal need to reconnect with her roots, to reclaim a part of herself that she feels like she lost.
And I think that's something we can all relate to in some way. That feeling of being pulled in different directions, trying to figure out where we truly belong.
Yeah, like we're all searching for that sense of grounding, that place where we can be our most authentic selves.
It's a universal search for belonging, isn't it? This yearning to feel connected to something bigger than ourselves.
It is, and sometimes that search, it leads us down unexpected paths, forces us to make really tough choices, even if it means leaving something or someone behind.
Like in the story, when Anna ultimately chooses to return to her homeland, even though she knows Leo can't follow her, it's a decision that comes from love, but also from this deep understanding of her own needs, her own journey toward healing.
And it raises this really profound question that kind of sticks with you long after the story ends. Can we ever truly leave the past behind? Or does it always shape us, shape our present and our future?
That's a tough one. It's like our past is a part of who we are, It's woven into the fabric of our being. But does that mean it has to define us? Does it have to dictate the course of our lives?
I think it's about finding that balance, acknowledging the impact of the past without letting it control us. It's about recognizing the wounds, the scars that we carry, and finding ways to heal, to grow, to move forward in a way that honors our experiences without being trapped by them.
I think this deep dive has really been eye-opening. It's amazing how 5 years in a war can seem like a simple story on the surface, but it's packed with all these layers of meaning, these insights into what it means to be human that just stay with you.
It really makes you think about your own life, your own relationships, your own understanding of home and belonging.
It does, and that's what makes great storytelling so powerful. It sparks these internal conversations, these moments of introspection that allow us to see ourselves and the world a little differently.
Absolutely. So, if there's one thing you could leave our listener with today, what would it be?
That's a good question. I think I'd want them to remember the power of resilience. The idea that even when faced with incredible loss and hardship, the human spirit can still endure.
We see that in both Anna and Leo, right? In their different ways of coping, their different paths towards healing.
Exactly. It's a reminder that there's no one right way to deal with trauma, but there's always hope, always the possibility of finding peace and wholeness, even if it takes us down unexpected roads.
That's beautifully said. And hopefully this deep dive will inspire our listener to embrace their own journey, to explore what home means to them and to find the courage to heal and grow, even if it means letting go of the familiar and stepping into the unknown.
Because sometimes the most difficult journeys lead to the most profound transformations. And even in the midst of loss and uncertainty, there's always beauty to be found, always hope waiting to be discovered.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this incredible journey through 5 years in a war. Thank you all for diving deep with us. We'll catch you next time, ready to explore new stories and uncover new insights together.